This front four absolutely obliterated Newcastle, whilst Bayern hit Atalanta for double digits. Liverpool and Spurs actually deliver a decent performance, and Messi hits goal number 900 of his career. This is DMAC Daily. It's crazy that for 3/4 of this tie, Newcastle were actually a formidable opponent for the Blaugrana. But the second half of that second leg, entirely different equation. Men against boys out there, and the scoreline showed no mercy. I don't know about you guys, but to me, that felt like watching the Barcelona of a decade ago. Attack being their best form of defense. Firmino continuing to showcase his elite ability, and a front three of the highest caliber. But what makes this Barca trio so fascinating for me is that it's 3 separate generations of attacking excellence coming together. A seasoned goal-scoring phenomenon in Lewandowski, whose brace today at 37 broke 3 separate records as the oldest player ever to score twice in a UCL match, the oldest player ever to score in the knockout stages, and also broke Messi's record of the most teams scored against in this illustrious competition. The guy's simply UCL heritage. Then you have Raphinha, who's at the peak of his powers at 29. This guy just loves a Champions League match day, and with 4 goal contributions today plus a penalty one, 10 out of 10 performance, no notes. It's no surprise to see him pick up man of the match honors. If anyone deserves recognition, it's him. But statistics aside, I still can't help but marvel at the sheer brilliance of Raphinha and Yamal. Sure, the numbers may indicate he contributed a little less to Barca today than others, but in reality, that couldn't be further from the truth. His chance creation is unlike any other player on the planet. The first goal is largely thanks to Yamal tearing Newcastle apart in a split second. On the stroke of half-time, it's then a perfectly weighted Trivela pass, which inevitably leads to that penalty. He executes that exact same pass in the second half, to which Varane proceeds to go full Varane. But that 6th goal is pure perfection from Barca's number 10. The Neymar-esque dribble to skin Dan Burn, followed by another perfectly weighted ball for Lewandowski to dispatch. This trio is iconic. But that's just 3 players. As mentioned before, just behind is Firmino causing all sorts. This guy's impossible to mark. Pedri is their midfield artist dictating everything. Bernal's influence is also rapidly growing, the next La Masia star potentially. Even without De Jong, there's just so much chemistry in that midfield. The only weak spot is the back line, their infamous high line. Elanga had a field day at times in that first half. It is still highly problematic from a defensive standpoint, but with the various weapons they have going forward, they'll happily cop 2 if they can bag 7. As for Newcastle, that was a brutal outcome for what was supposed to be the biggest game in the club's modern history. Sure, now they can solely focus on the Premier League. There's still a lot to play for there, but these are the moments you live for as players and fans. So to capitulate in such devastating fashion like that, the reverberations will be seismic, no doubt. Moving from one battering to another, and Staphad FC, aka Bayern Munich, have done it again. Serious question, is there a better team at dismantling an inferior opponent than the Bavarian Giants? Remember, this same Atalanta side knocked out Germany's 2nd best team, but stood absolutely no chance against Company's men. Low-key, a little devastated that we didn't get to see 16-year-old Leonard Prescott debut in goal as Urbig recovered. Would have been even crazier to potentially witness Harry Kane enter the net once more. He instead led the line and bagged a double. The second goal was just ridiculous. His 10th in 9 UCL games this season. That's 52 goal contributions for the season now. Crazy stuff. Even without Elise in attack today, Diaz and Carl delivered the goods. They also managed to hand 2 senior debuts to Denis Offley in midfield, who already looks a real player, alongside barely 16-year-old centre-back Filip Pavic. He became Bayern's youngest ever Champions League player today, the 3rd youngest in the competition's history. This guy was born in 2010. He's almost 14 years younger than me. Wild stuff. Although Bayern may be dealing with several injuries throughout this squad currently, I still think they're in a really good place approaching the business end of the season. The Bundesliga is more or less wrapped up. They're still in the DFB Pokal and can rest key personnel leading up to that mouth-watering tie against Real Madrid. Staying on the topic of UCL action, and Liverpool have produced a much needed dominant display at Anfield. Scratch that, dominant doesn't quite give justice to what this actually was. Liverpool destroyed Galatasaray. I've been saying it all season. Gala are a unique team that has a world-class 9 in Osimhen and one of the most hostile atmospheres in all of Europe. So in Istanbul, they're a difficult opponent. They smashed Juve, they defeated the greatest team of all, Bodo Glimt, and also got the better of Liverpool twice already this season. But away from home, away from their fortress, and they are straight buns. A 4-0 defeat is an extremely flattering scoreline in the end for Galatasaray. Sure, Szoboszlai and Salah may get all the plaudits today for their individual brilliance, but the actual best player on ground was Gala's goalkeeper. Bro made 11 saves. Barca had a lower XG than Liverpool did. Honestly, this could have been a double-digit scoreline. Gala have been a lot of fun this season, and personally, I love to see teams outside the traditional Big 5 leagues stepping up in Europe, but it's clear they've got a long way to go to bridge that golfing class between the elite. For Liverpool, however, this was a much-needed morale boost. The fans have understandably lost patience in the team and slot this season. I'd say the mood hit an all-time low last weekend, but today was a different story. Szoboszlai once again coming in clutch, the only consistent performer of the season, really, with a delightful first-time effort from the corner. They then peppered Shaqir's goal all night. Wirtz and Salah missing a host of chances in the first half, including that penalty miss, but fair play to the Egyptian king. He persevered, brilliantly setting up Ekitike first before scoring a fine solo goal of his own. Boy, did he need that. Boy, did Liverpool need that. Although if I were a Reds fan, personally, I wouldn't buy into this result too much. Gala aren't an elite team by any means, and it's still a very tricky schedule that awaits them. Particularly after that international break in April, the likes of City away in the FA Cup, PSG in the Champions League, plus a Merseyside derby, which could prove to be crucial in their top 5 push. Sure, this season has not gone according to plan. Almost £500 million spent and they've gone backwards, but there's still plenty to play for. Moving to another English side that stepped up today, and Spurs delivered arguably their best performance of the entire season against Atletico Madrid. That is no small feat. I wasn't sure what to think of that draw away at Anfield a couple days prior, but this result is huge. Sure, they still ultimately bow out of the UCL, but let's be real here. Spurs were never serious contenders to begin with, and now they can solely focus on the big task at hand, which is avoiding relegation. Not only does winning a home game for the first time in 2 months bring much needed confidence to the team, but this display also won back the fans who have been lost for a while now. How this translates to the Premier League, only time will tell. Although you look at this squad and surely they can string together a couple of decent results to survive. That fixture v Forest on the weekend is everything. The question Tudor has to ask himself though is, does Xavi Simons earn a start come Sunday? This was his best performance in a Spurs shirt. From an Atletico perspective, look, not a great showing, but hey, they advance nonetheless. I still don't particularly rate this team. Away from home, they're just not reliable in any sense, but in fairness to them, they've already gotten the better of Barca in a 2-legged tie this season, so they'll quietly back themselves in the quarterfinal stages. Julian Alvarez is also having a prolific UCL campaign. All that to say, you can never underestimate this club. So the quarterfinals are here. 4 absolutely enthralling ties. We've got a rematch of last season's UCL Classic as PSG face Liverpool. Real Madrid v Bayern, now that's a proper heavyweight clash. Madrid haven't been great this season, but look at what they just did to City. Mbappe's returning, Bellingham could be back. You can't write them off, can you? You certainly can't write off Bayern either, that's for sure. They're having an outstanding campaign on all fronts. Injuries are the only question mark at this stage, but with a front 3 like that, they are serious contenders. It's a similar situation with Barcelona v Atletico. Barca have the elite firepower in attack, but Simeone's Atletico love to suffer. They'll relish this matchup just like they did in the Copa del Rey, and Arsenal v Sporting is a similarly compelling tie. Arsenal are the current bookies' favourites to win the Champions League, and for good reason too. They're the only undefeated side in this season's UCL, but their opponents aren't to be taken lightly either. They just made the quarters for the first time in 43 years. They took out the giant killers themselves in Bodo Glimt, and remember, when these two sides last met in Europe 3 years prior, Sporting knocked out the Gunners at the Emirates. Moving to North American football news, news, or should I say South American, as Lionel Messi scored his 900th career goal during Inter Miami's second leg Champions Cup draw with Nashville. Granted, the away side actually advanced via goal difference in the two-legged tie, but the goal-scoring heroics of the Argentine are what inevitably grabbed the headlines, becoming just the second player in history to reach 900 goals. Cristiano Ronaldo still has a hefty lead at this point with 965. We know he's gunning for 1,000, but who knows? Maybe Messi might just fancy that 1,000 mark too. He's currently 38 years old. Last year he hit 46 goals for club and country, so if he can replicate that output for another 2 years without any major injury woes, it's definitely within reach. Not sure if he's particularly interested in that accolade, but either way, I'm just grateful that he's still delivering the goods in 2026. Crazy to think both him and CR7 are playing in another World Cup in a few months' time. These two are the ultimate servants of the beautiful game. Anyways, legends, thanks for tuning in to today's DMAC Daily. Appreciate every single one of you guys who consistently tune into the show, leave comments, even those who turn up solely for the hate watch. It's all love at the end of the day, and I'll see you next time.